get the idea sometimes that it's in those simple concepts of trusting God, taking Him at His word, and resting there. Did you find comfort? Somebody asked me, multiple times people will always come and they'll say to me, were you ever afraid? Were you scared? And when Dr. Scott died, were you afraid? And my answer was no. No, I wasn't afraid. I knew where he was, knew where he went, I now know where he is, and completely trusted that the Lord would enable. Now, when we claim those promises, at least have the wisdom to know it doesn't mean that God's going to act, that He may be acting immediately, but the results may not be seen right away. No, I was not afraid, and the one thing that I rested on pretty much most of the time was God's not the author of fear. That doesn't mean engage in stoicism and get a stiff upper lip and just, it means God's in control. Now, there were times when I got very upset at some of the parishioners and their behavior. People who had seemingly were mature and I thought they knew what to do and how to act and react. There was times where I was very disappointed in the people that I thought would be around as pillars of faith and encouragement. But I myself was not afraid. I didn't have any fear. I spent a lot of time, believe me, in those first few months. I found great comfort in just getting down on my knees and asking the Lord, just plain and simple, just help me. No long-winded prayers there, just help me. Help me. Then as time goes by, people will still ask me the same question. How did you handle this? Or how did you handle that? And I'm confident to say I didn't. God did. Lord only knows if I was trying to handle it myself what I would have done. But I trusted Him. That childlike faith, I now understand years later, some people have the gift of faith. I believe I have the gift of faith. There's some people, they have to work at it and they have to have it to where it becomes part of their nature and then they keep reaching and there's that motion towards God. And some people get a gift. I think I have a gift of faith. There hasn't been a time when there have been shadows and things that come across the horizon. I've always said, God's going to get me through. And maybe I'll be like one of those people that I'll be in some terrible situation, holding on and saying, just like Job, He slays me, yet I'm still going to keep trusting and hanging on and leaning because it's all I have. So when all these questions come in, I'll keep telling you the same thing. There's a very consistent thing. God's not the author of fear. And the confusion that comes when people say, well, I don't know what God's doing and I don't know how this is going to work out. Did God ever give a roadmap to any of these people in the Bible? Did He ever say now, I mean, He might have said, go to a land and I'll show you the land, but after that, did He ever give a roadmap? What are you expecting to have some perfectly folded out roadmap that you unfold that says your life begins here and takes you? Would you like that? Because that's not Christianity. And too bad, I feel sorry for those people who are so wrapped up in, they want God to give them that next certainty, that next peg they can hang on to. Please, give me directions to the brook. Okay, now I'm here. Now I know that God brought me to the brook, so I'm certain there'll be provisions there, and they'll be the type of provisions I want. And when the brook dries up, you say, well, God must be ticked off at me. Then God provides a different source of food. Oh, God must not like me. He's feeding me with these things that feed off of roadkill. And you can keep going down the road, or you can see that God's going to, with your faith, taking that one step, and it's always like that. You take that one step in faith, you trust Him. And the place where you're at may be, as I've said, I don't know about this, but you say, I'm holding on because God said so. I'm holding on now. It's getting tough for me, but I'm holding on. Go back and read about the reformers as they led them out to the fires. And they saw the pain or heard the pain and the screams of ones who had been previously burnt at the stake. And I can only imagine what type of faith and trust in God to be facing the flames, knowing you're going to be, in a few seconds, you're going to be consumed by fire. And yet if you read the lives of some of those saints, you recognize they went right until the last breath praising God. Now, I don't think any of us have had to really confront that type of situation, not yet anyway. But I'm telling you, that's when the peace comes. That's when God calms the storm. That's when you know, as Dr. Scott quoting Oral Roberts used to say, you know that you know that you know that you know. But you hang on until that time, and don't ask God for those 10 steps ahead of the road to clear the way. Just take that first step. Put that peg like you were climbing a wall into the hole and hang on. And don't try and get 10 pegs above your head. Probably with that type of attitude, God will be there with his foot slamming you back down. You take one grab, and you grab solidly and firmly, and you hang there until that moment is seized. That's the life of faith. That's Christianity. And with that, you'll be able to endure. I've said before, God won't tempt you beyond what you're able. And some of us are extremely able, and he knows that. We just haven't figured that out yet. So I'm telling you, just some of you need to go back and take those words to heart. Some have been taught and they know what to do, and then when the trouble comes, and it will, and it does, what was that? I'm surprised. Why? Don't be surprised. The price of your committed life to Christ, the price, I'm not speaking of your salvation, but the price tag that comes with it is you are in for the ride of your life. I may be the only fool telling you that. And then you get the understanding this is the way God does it. So hang on there. Hang in. Don't give up. Hold on to God's word.
To this house, magnify the Lord, lift up holy hands, our hearts in one accord, worship and bow down before him, exalt his name today. Come into this house,